The Daytona 500 is over. Tyler Reddick gave Michael Jordan his first Daytona 500 victory. The checkered flag flew, the champagne sprayed. But the controversy? It's just getting started. Because Dale Earnhardt Jr. just fired back at NASCAR's top brass over fuel-saving tactics that are killing superspeedway racing. And the debate that erupted after the 2026 Daytona 500 has exposed a massive divide between what NASCAR thinks fans want and what fans are actually saying. Let me break this down for you. In the days leading up to the Daytona 500, Elton Sawyer, NASCAR's senior vice president of competition, sat down for a media briefing, and he was asked directly about the fuel-saving epidemic at superspeedways like Daytona and Talladega. Fans have been screaming about it for years. Drivers running half throttle, cars 2 seconds off the pace. 3-wide racing that looks exciting on TV but is actually happening at 75% speed because everyone's trying to stretch fuel. And Sawyer's response? It set the NASCAR world on fire. John and I will sit there in the tower watching the race and listening to the broadcast and scanners. And if we turn that off, they're 5 and 6 wide. And fans don't know how fast they're going, Sawyer said. They're all standing up and cheering. So it's like, okay, what are we trying to fix? Wait, what? Sawyer just suggested that if NASCAR turns off the radios and doesn't talk about fuel saving, fans wouldn't know it's happening. And if fans don't know about it, then maybe it's not a problem. That's not a solution. That's NASCAR putting its head in the sand and hoping the problem goes away. Dale Earnhardt Jr. heard those comments, and he was not having it. On his Dale Jr. Download podcast, the 2-time Daytona 500 winner and NASCAR Hall of Famer unloaded on Elton Sawyer. I do know one thing. I do not like that they go out there and run half throttle and 2 seconds off the pace, Earnhardt said bluntly. I don't like it. So, Elton, we don't like it. That's direct. That's calling out NASCAR's top competition executive by name. And Dale Jr. wasn't done. To say, well, if we don't talk about it, is it really a problem? If the casual fan doesn't realize what's going on, then we shouldn't consider it an issue. I don't love that he said that. Dale Jr. called it out for exactly what it was. NASCAR trying to sweep a real problem under the rug by saying it's just a perception issue. But perception is reality when you're trying to grow a sport. When fans know that drivers are cruising around at half throttle for half the race, it changes how they watch. It changes how they engage. It changes whether they tune in next year. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the most respected voices in the sport, just told NASCAR, "We see what you're doing, and we don't like it." Wasn't finished. He went deeper, breaking down exactly how fuel-saving tactics have evolved at superspeedways and why they've become such a massive problem. I do believe that if they don't touch anything and don't change anything, teams will continue to shift their model and their plan, Earnhardt explained. If you go back a few years and you start the Daytona 500 and a couple guys are saving, they're creating an advantage for themselves. It's no longer an advantage when the entire field does it. That's the key. When 2 drivers are fuel saving, they're being strategic. When 38 drivers are fuel saving, it's not strategy anymore. It's just boring racing. And Dale Jr. sees it happening in real time. He continued, "Now, you've got to be the guy that sets yourself apart. You've got to be the guy that maybe doesn't save anymore. Some of those teams will now start to say, I don't care. I'm going to the front. I'm going to run hard. I'm going to hope the cautions fall in my favor." Dale Jr. is predicting that the strategy will eventually come full circle, that teams will start racing hard again because fuel saving won't provide an advantage when everyone is doing it. But the question is, how many more Daytona 500s have to end in fuel-saving chaos before that happens? And then there's Elton Sawyer's other controversial comment. He compared NASCAR's fuel-saving problem to the Indy 500. If you look at other big races, let's take the Indy 500. They drop the green flag and they are in fuel conservation mode immediately, Sawyer said. So, I think it's a narrative that is out there that we have to at some point ask, do we want to change something, or what exactly are we trying to fix? That comparison is wild. Sawyer is basically saying, other series do it, so why can't we? But here's the difference. IndyCar fans expect fuel strategy at Indianapolis because the race is 500 miles on a 2.5-mile oval. NASCAR fans expect aggression, pack racing, and full throttle chaos at Daytona because that's what the sport built its identity on. Dale Earnhardt Jr. acknowledged that finding a solution isn't easy. NASCAR has floated ideas like bigger fuel cells, shorter stage lengths, and even points for leading laps. But Dale Jr. shot down one of those ideas immediately. "We went to smaller cells before. That was a pain in the ass," Earnhardt said. You just pitted more. It was just annoying to have to pit more. So, smaller fuel cells? Not the answer. What about bigger fuel cells? Dale Jr. didn't specifically address that, but the logic is clear. If you give teams more fuel, they'll just save longer. The problem isn't the size of the fuel cell, the problem is the incentive structure. And that's where Denny Hamlin comes in. The three-time Daytona 500 winner and co-owner of 23XI Racing has been vocal about potential solutions. Hamlin and Dale Jr. have both suggested the same fix: bring back points for leading laps. Right now, there's no benefit to leading laps in NASCAR unless you lead the most laps and get a playoff point at the end of the season. So why risk running out of fuel to lead on lap 47 when Hamlin's proposal? Award points for every lap led. Make it worthwhile to race to the front instead of riding in the pack at half throttle. Dale Jr. and Denny Hamlin also floated another idea. Use the clash at Bowman Gray as a test bed. Take off the spoiler. Add downforce in different places. Experiment with aero packages that reward skill instead of fuel strategy. Let drivers give feedback, then implement those changes for the Daytona 500 and Talladega. It's a logical approach, but will NASCAR listen? That's the billion-dollar question. Meanwhile, Elton Sawyer doubled down on his position. I would say that the priority list for things like that, I think we can take the news of the championship format, the chase, which was high on that list, and we can put that on the green column, Sawyer said. We tackled that one, and then that list of other things, fuel mileages. He didn't even finish the sentence, because NASCAR's priority right now isn't fixing fuel saving, it's the chase format, it's new sponsors. It's everything except the thing that's actively making races worse. And that's what has Dale